I'm going to talk quickly today about our four questions. The two ones, what's interesting, what's difficult, and so what. Because with our final text of the first half of the semester, I want you guys to do more of the work. So in your discussion board and lit journal assignments this week, you will see prompts that are really asking you to tell me and the rest of the class what's interesting about this story. What are some of the things that we would hold up that are informing in a literary quality, and then also those difficulties. So I'll give you guys a little, some pointers about where to look or things that I'm interested in that I want you to be thinking about and writing about with kind of generosity, precision, depth, complexity that I'm looking for now that you've had some warm up time. Now's time to sort of show how much you can do with your own reading work of a literary text. So, first of all, it's kind of interesting to me that we have this mirror of betrayals. We have two betrayals in the story. The one at the beginning where he lies about the cat, and then the one at the center of the story where she lies about she doesn't lie, she presents her betrayal. I have slept with someone outside of our marriage. So we have two betrayals. And the first one, how does that resolve? She goes away, she's very angry, she comes back and says, I'm going to marry a liar. What a weird way to heal a violation of trust, of comportment. Why does he lie about the cat? Why do men lie about shit? Why do we tell tales to people that we care of? Why do we show off? Why is it so important for us to show off? And how did they get over it? Notice I'm tellingly not using the word forgive. I think that's an interesting thing. They never use the word forgive. Forgiveness is such an important word in a Judeo-Christian tradition. We ask for forgiveness. We forgive our enemies at Yom Kippur, at the height of the Jewish holidays. We beg forgiveness of Christ, forgiving each other to forgive our sins. In the Christian central prayer, we ask for forgiveness. But these contemporary Native Americans, how did they get over a betrayal? They get over it, but they don't quite get over it. What are the terms or the words or the ways that they move beyond, that they heal a transgression, that they move beyond a betrayal? I'm curious about that. I'd really like you to look and think about that. Look for, when do you know that that the rupture has been healed or given a chance to, because they don't ever break up. They don't ever give up, this couple. They stay together somehow, but I'm not quite sure they stay together through forgiveness. How do they stay together? All right, so these are both a perfect mirror, and yet for many of us, there's a huge difference between lying about a cat and fucking around. So it's interesting how they're both a mirror, but there also seem to be extreme different cases of that. What's up with that? I'm interested in the Indianness of the story. Where are parts of their family culture, how they are a family, how they talk about themselves, how they get together, what they do as a family and as a couple? How are those different, or signs of a Native American culture that's so different from the culture that I grew up in and the culture that I contribute to now? So signs of Indianness, however you understand that. Look for that. That's a great thing, an interesting thing that this tale offers. Just as I was interested in the poverty and the ugliness and the ignorance of the rural world of Jack and Innes. Not how I grew up, not the culture that I live in, but I'm curious about other cultures in all of their specificity. Jack and Ennis, I think one of the triumphs of Brokeback is how human they are. Their feelings are huge. We all humans, regardless of our good looks, of our money, of our education, even of the words that we have, we still share this rich, rich, challenging emotional life. That makes me so hopeful for our species. Here too, there is difference in this couple. There's difference in how they deal, and so that Indianness is a thing to be able to look at. And then, of course, the last interesting thing I'm wondering, well, I had an affair, and I'm telling you, Sharon goes on, and he's devastated. His reaction to being cheated on I think it's a great representation of fury, disappointment, hurt. He wanted to punch her. Doesn't, I don't think, but he wanted to. Have you ever been that angry? I've been that angry. I know what that feels like. It's awful. And it's such a wonderful, heartening to me to see it represented so well in Sherman Alexie's writing at the center of this story. But then what's up? You can ask us 3 questions, and only 3, and then we're never going to talk about it again. And one of the understandings I have about that is what I know about Native American history and culture. It was an oral culture long before writing. Native Americans told the history of their people verbally. They told stories again and again and again and again. And, the function of the story gets told and retold, and then it becomes part of the identity of the people. And so that happens at one level with the your father lied about the cat story. It's retold. They stay together, they get married, they have children, they build a life, and then Sharon retells that story again and again and again at every holiday meal. The family can't finish Thanksgiving, can't finish Christmas without the kids saying, "Mom, you haven't told the cat story yet." And as with all good stories, it at first it might probably hurt and annoy him, and oh, not this again. But as it's told over the years, what happens? The funny parts get built up, the hurtful parts get worn down, and it becomes a family set piece that everybody all the rough edges get sanded off and polished up until it's much more like a polished river stone, known for its beauty than it was as an ugly, chunky, nasty, hurtful thing. Stories that are held onto in a family change, and they get polished, they get softened, and they become signs of identity, certainly within a Native American culture. So that's one of their family's river stones, this polished, silly, funny, intimate, truth-telling tale that I don't know, isn't it more about how they stayed together despite this silliness? We learn at the end of the story that he never lied to her again, that one time, and then never again. Maybe the story is a celebration of healing or truth-telling or commitment or thank goodness she came back. Whatever it is, by the end of the short story, the cat tale is a warm and wonderful part of the family history. You can ask 3 questions. I'm going to acknowledge my wrongdoing. I'm going to acknowledge the rupture. Then we're never going to speak of it again. And why not? Why does Sharon refuse? And the questions like, how many, was he white? How many times? Or where did he put it? And she answers the question, but without saying a word. She points here, here, and here. Or here, here, and here. She points. She responds to the question, but she responds to the question outside of language, without uttering it. She responds to the question. She admits her wrongdoing. She wants him to reconcile, but we will never speak of it again, because to speak of her adultery, to speak of her infidelity, to speak more of what she was doing would then make that betrayal part of the family story. And she knows, as many of us know, that if you bring up the past again and again and again, you never, ever, ever can heal. If it became part of the family story, they would never be able to go on. So she was both responsible to her partner by admitting her wrongdoing, but she was also somewhat wise about the reality of emotional lives. If we keep that wound open, if we open it again and again and again, we can never get beyond the hurt. 3 questions, and we'll never speak about it again. So, what an interesting, that's a difficulty for many of my students over the years. How could he stand it? Why didn't he run? If anyone cheated on me, I would, I would end it. Why didn't she? Why didn't he? Why didn't she? Why did she mess around? Like, why did she cheat on her husband? And does he have any role, any responsibility in that? How they it never went back to how it was. They built another house next to the one. So interesting to look at the language of how he speaks of reconciliation, not forgiveness, but healing, I think. And so these difficulties, this difficulty, I think the difficulty of the 3 questions, I think the difficulty of betrayal. That is it's a reality of human lives. We disappoint each other on purpose, by accident, willingly, humans disappoint each other. You will disappoint somebody in your life, I promise you. What a horrible thing to think about or talk about. Or is it? Is it important to think about how we betray ourselves, how we might betray others, how we might reconcile ourselves when we have been hurt as viciously as we can feel hurt by people that we care for? Is this wallowing in dark side, or is it preparing for the truth of our lives? Are you going to, quote, forgive or reconcile, or what are you going to do when someone disappoints you? How are you going to react when you've disappointed to others? Those are heavy duty questions, in trivial ways, but in not trivial ways, in romantic ways, in spiritual ways, in physical ways, all kinds of. Why do we do this crazy stuff that we do? These are difficult questions. It's interesting to read about, but difficult to sort of manage for ourselves. So, do you have a so what already on your own? So what? What's this have to do with our course? Well, it has everything to do with morality, but boy, it sure is murky. I thought the morality of Brokeback was murky, but the morality here, they do wrong things, they admit the wrongdoing, and they survive. I think it's, I'd like to be at the end of my life where the David and Sharon's are. They are in love. She's dying from cancer. That's sad, but the kids are there. They've had weekends of family dinners. They've had many, many, many years of warm, intimate, connected life. He loves her. She loves him at the end of the life, despite bad behavior. Is that a triumph of some kind? Is this a model for what I'm supposed to do? What you're supposed to do? Or a way of being? Or is this fantasy land? Is this truer to life or not true to life? What are the other dimensions? Not so much nature, I don't think. But man, there's a big issue of discernment at the beginning, deciding to stay together. And why? Well, they're both Native Americans. Their culture was as much of a reason for them connecting as was any romantic, erotic connection, although there certainly was certainly physical play. But he doesn't talk about that. They talk about, two brown Indians on white sheets, brown skins on white sheets. Is it intense? And a different flavor of intensity than we've seen. And where is it intense? And how is that intensity communicated in this text? Time and history, representation, stories and language, pointing and asking questions. There really are. We can go through the dimensions and see a lot in this story. But more importantly, when we think about so what's are always about, what does this have to do with us? our lives, how we can learn, avoid, model, jump back away from the stories and characters in the story. So these are all worthwhile things. I'm looking forward to generous and substantial critical thinking in this week's writing. And we're going to move very quickly into our midterm excitement in the next week's work. So enjoy this story, enjoy the writing this week, and know that it can be of wonderful service into next week's midterm exam, a midterm essay. Next week, it's all you, it's all writing. And so I will be posting the video right at the beginning of the week. It'll be there on Sunday, and you have the whole week to focus on writing and collecting and research work for the midterm. Okay, guys, so enjoy this, and I'm looking forward to your midterm fun next week. Be well.